From Colby Covington playing matchmaker, to Tom Aspinall talking Tai Tuivasa, to Michael Chandler talking about Tony Ferguson, and more. And don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date on the latest fight news. Let's get to it. 1. Colby believes Conor McGregor should be fighting Nate Diaz in a trilogy instead of a title fight. It remains to be seen when Conor McGregor will finally get back into the octagon, but if you ask Colby Chaos Covington, McGregor needs to stop talking about fighting champion and go and make the Nate Diaz trilogy bout a reality. Colby is a former welterweight title challenger and lost twice to champion Kamaru Usman, once by knockout, once by decision. Over the last few months, McGregor has been pretty busy calling out all kinds of fighters and even hinted he could challenge for the 155-pound strap against Charles Oliveira. Ultimately, Oliveira is set to take on Justin Gaethje later this year. Then, Conor mentioned he was keen on moving up to the 170-pound division to book a title fight against the welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. Many in the media and fighters themselves have slammed this fight, saying Conor has got no shot. They claim he's on the smaller side of 170 pounds and has lost 3 of his last 4 fights dating back to 2018. He's also coming off a 1-year break on account of a serious leg injury he suffered in his last fight against Dustin Poirier. Instead, Colby believes the fight that makes the most sense for the Irishman is a trilogy bout against Nate Diaz. This is what he stated in an interview with James Lynch about that.
And I think Conor's going to fight Nate, man. That's the biggest money fight the UFC can do. I mean, that's what, their trilogy? I mean, they need to close that chapter. So I think that's the fight that's going to happen. It's the fight that makes the most sense for the UFC. And then if he wants to fight for the title after that, yeah, no problem. He can go fight for the title.
Diaz has been talking about hanging up the gloves on his career, but a big-time fight against Conor could be interesting. Both of them have a win over the other, with Diaz submitting Conor in their first meet and Conor coming back to win by decision in the rematch. What do you think about Colby's suggestion that Conor should fight Nate Diaz in a trilogy fight? And do you agree with him? Let us know in the comments below. 2. Tom Aspinall hints that Tai Tuivasa's Stipe Miocic fight is not looking good. Knockouts of Greg Hardy, Augusto Sakai, and Derek Lewis have propelled Tai Tuivasa into the limelight, shooting him up the heavyweight rankings where he currently sits at number 3. The heavyweight division is certainly looking very interesting, as Tom Aspinall has also shot up the rankings and now sits at number 5. He's coming off a submission victory over Alexander Volkov at UFC London last weekend in front of a raucous O2 Arena crowd. He called out Bam Bam after that fight, saying he would love to get a crack at the Tuivasa in the near future. Both fighters are in their late 20s, have shown they can finish opponents, and are ascending up the division, a division that is seeing its fair share of uncertainty. With heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou likely out for the year due to knee surgery and a contract dispute, and Jon Jones yet to make his heavyweight debut, the UFC faces some questions as to what they want to do. The logical thing would be to crown an interim champion, and few have a better case to be in that title fight than Stipe Miocic. The Ohio native was last seen losing to Ngannou, but he's considered the best heavyweight in the history of the UFC, and many would agree that this in of itself warrants a spot for Miocic in any interim title fight. That brings us to today, as Aspinall recently had an interview with CBS Sports in which he stated what he's heard in regard to the Tuivasa-Stipe fight. This is what he said.
I heard before that he was in talks with Stipe to try and get that match, but then I heard off a couple of inside sources that match was nowhere near close. So the ball is in his court, but I want to fight in the UK. Like that's me and Tai in the UK would be unbelievable.
At the moment, it's unclear what will happen here. If the UFC cannot make a Tuivasa-Miocic fight, then Aspinall wants to cut in and take on Bam Bam himself. What do you think about Aspinall's comments regarding Tuivasa and Miocic? And if Aspinall and Tuivasa fight, who do you think would win? Let us know in the comments below. Before we get to our next story, take a second to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on the latest fight news. 3. Michael Chandler doesn't buy that Tony Ferguson has lost a step. Despite the fact that Tony Ferguson has lost 3 fights in a row, he remains one of the most dangerous lightweights on the planet. Ferguson is currently the number 7 ranked lightweight in the UFC, while Michael Chandler is currently sitting at number 5 in the division. Chandler, a former title challenger, is set to take on Tony at UFC 274 in May, a fight that could propel the winner up the rankings just a little bit. While there is talk that El Kukui has lost a step in his fighting prowess on account of his recent stat lines, Chandler is saying that there is way more than meets the eye. Chandler is not taking Ferguson lightly, nor should he. Ferguson won 12 fights in a row before this recent skid as a former interim lightweight title holder. Although fans never got to see the long-awaited fight against Khabib for the title, it goes without saying that Ferguson is still highly respected in the fight game. This is what Chandler said in an interview with MMA Fighting recently when asked if he thought Ferguson had lost a step.
I think too, you can't just look at you can't just look at records and say, well, he's lost his last 3 fights. Those guys that you just mentioned, Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, Beneil Dariush. I mean, these are the top guys in the world. When we're fighting up there in the top of the division, doing this round robin against the best guys on the planet at 155 pounds, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, and every now and then you're going to lose a couple in a row, just like I have.
What do you think about Chandler's statements here about Ferguson? Do you agree with him? And who do you think will win the fight at UFC 274? Let us know in the comments below. There's always so much going on in the fight world, and we got it all here for you on MMA Rumor. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit the notification bell to keep updated with all things MMA. Thanks for watching.